Because for some of us, the hustle and bustle of trying to deal with the emotional chaos that we found ourselves in after our divorce didn't give us time to plan, didn't give us time to think. So these Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries with Tanya Ehud. There are things that's happened in your world that you have no control over. That situation that you're in, you have no control over it, but it's okay. It's part of your past. Now, the thing about the past is we need to remember it because there are lessons there that you can use that will help you in your future. Those experiences that you encountered, those experiences have given you a strength that you may not even recognize that you possess, that you can use in your future moments. So when you feel like life is coming at you, the next thing I want you to do is don't succumb to the pressures around you. It's like a situation where you have to constantly find ways to encourage yourself. Because after our divorce, for a lot of us, we didn't have support going in. We don't have support coming out. So we're just here holding on by like this thin little thread, trying to see, can I be okay tomorrow? Can I get through today? And if you're anything like me, can I just get through to the next moment? It is in those situations that you will need to develop ways to encourage yourself. So you can just wash, rinse, and repeat because you're going to have to. You can't just do this one time. You're going to keep going through experiences where you're going to have to find different ways of encouraging yourself. Because for me, music was a way out. I have what I call my change the atmosphere playlist. So finding something just to switch the moment, because sometimes we can't figure out how to find the words, discover the words, or be in the moment of an emotional state to decide to change the moment. But music is a beautiful thing that can elevate where you are into a different direction. There are times I just needed to sit down and just read a good book just so that I can escape from my situation. Figure out what you need, but you're going to need to find time to pause in the middle of this journey so that you can get the moment to breathe. And in that moment of breathing, you'll find moments of encouragement. And once you get encouraged, then you can develop a plan of action so that you can get to your next step. Because lots of times there is no strategy because we don't have time to think. We don't have time to plan. We don't have time to do. There are 168 hours in a week. You need to discover what you are doing with them. Now, I'm not saying that you got to plan each minute of every day, but you got to have an idea of where you can get at least 30 minutes to yourself. It doesn't sound like it's a lot of time, but 30 minutes once a week just for you is a start to not feeling overwhelmed, causing enough so that you're not constantly in mommy mode, doing everything for the babies. But there's a moment that you need for yourself. There's a moment that you need just for planning. When I finally found, because y'all, it wasn't 30 minutes when I started with 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes was just sitting on the edge of my bed. I could do nothing else. I couldn't think any further than just get up and sit on the edge of the bed. If that is all you can do right now, do it. Because it'll start conditioning your brain to do something a little bit different because you got to interrupt your own pattern. Sitting on the edge of the bed for 5 minutes instead of just doing or moping like I was before caused my brain to say, hey, something's different is happening. But what do we do next? After that, I began to move to 5 minutes still, just 5 minutes, y'all. It doesn't have to start with anything major. Sitting on the edge of the bed, thinking about my day, still only 5 minutes, but now my 5 minutes was more productive. Find the time because you're going to need it to plan your strategy. It is in that strategy that you'll be able to get your next move. And here's the thing about the strategy I want to encourage you with. When you can discover a good plan of action, give yourself 3 days to think about it. And I share that for a reason, because in a 3-day time period, you don't feel like you are stressed to get everything done right now, because sometimes in the cycle of life after divorce, you feel like you got to do everything right now because it's all on you. Give yourself some time to think. So if there's a major task, and let's just choose moving because Lots of times after divorce, we got to move. And I knew I had to figure out how to pack myself up and little people with me and then get to a new place. That took time to plan. If you got major things like the move, do it in increments. The first thing I had to think of was, where am I going to move? Because after my divorce, I had no money and I was unemployed. So I wanted to figure out where could I basically afford on my own, because when we go through this situation, our finances change. The bills didn't know that it went from 2 incomes down to 1. So I had to figure that part out. Being in a situation where in a home, if you're able to stay for a little while, because I could stay where I was for a little while, but then I had to transition because I was in a 2-income environment. I could not sustain. So I had to plan, what was I going to do next? So stage 1 of my plan, and you may have to do this in stages, and it's okay. My first 3 days for my stage 1, because that's what I decided to call it, name it whatever you desire, but do something with that time. My stage 1 was planning, where could I go to sustain? If I got this as a basic income, where can I sustain that? Being a native of DC, I knew the area well enough, because I'm still not that far away from home, of where my income stream could support me and my babies can still be okay. So I decided to move to an area where my friends could get to me in a 15-minute time period. Because sometimes distance matters, especially when you've got little people. And if I couldn't get home from work because I wasn't sure where I was working yet, but if I worked a schedule that didn't give me the opportunity to get home quickly, my strategy, because I took 3 days to plan it, was to be in a space where someone could get to my babies quickly, even if I couldn't. So that planning was something that I didn't have to rush into. So it gave me time to think. I did it in stages. First part was, where do I want to live? The next part was, what do I have to pack up? Because if I'm moving, do I really need everything that I have? It also gave me a chance to purge, because after I divorced, some stuff was not ours, it was theirs. We didn't really know what to do with it at the time because we were emotional, or maybe you just purged immediately, because some people do that. I am not one of those individuals. So I had to make a decision. Some things that I had that was mostly there because he wanted it. I never used it, didn't really want it. So that became a purge. In my 3-day strategy of the purge moment, I broke that down into separate piles. What can I sell because I need some money? So a lot of the things that he had that I didn't really use and didn't feel like I needed, I sold on eBay or called a few people that I knew wanted the items before and gave them an offer. That way I had some extra cash from the things that were there. I did not have to take it with me when I moved. And it gave me an opportunity, because I used those simple 3 days to plan. That led me to the next thought process. So this is just an example. That way you're not rushed. You can think on a deeper level, because for some of us, the hustle and bustle of trying to deal with the emotional chaos that we found ourselves in after our divorce didn't give us time to plan, didn't give us time to think. So these moments were the only moments that we have. I encourage you to find it. I encourage you to take possession of it. And the next thing I want you to do once you do that is get some help. It's okay to get some support. Who can you get to help you on your journey? There are a lot of things that only you can do. But there are a few things. You can find someone that's already where you want to be. I was the only one in my little peer group at the time that was married. So going through a divorce, they didn't understand. But what they did understand was heartbreak, because we'd all went through that journey. So I asked them for the small support, because also in my group of friends, I was the only one that had 2 little people. Most of them didn't have kids yet. So that was something they did not know how to do, but they were always with me with my kids. So I set out a schedule to have them support me on different days at different points, so that I can find a little more time to do that 3-day strategy I was telling you about. And because they were already single, I asked them, how do you manage being single? And there were a few people that I did befriend along the way, because like people sort of find individuals. When I became a single mother, I started having more conversations with more single mothers. But they have been in that journey longer than I have. But I had something, like I was saying earlier, don't get stuck on looking back at the past, but the past has taught you something. Even though I was married for 11 years in that first marriage, I was still pretty much a married single mother. It is a real thing. People don't think it exists, but it does. But because I was asking the single parents that I was looking at, because in my mind, I was headed to their journey, it never dawned on me that I already had a skill, the thing that I was already doing in my marriage by myself. Because yes, I was married, but he wasn't there to get the kids up in the morning. I did that. Yes, I was married, but he didn't plan the meals or the homework time. I did that. So all the things that they were telling me that they did, I pretty much had already done being married. So there's a skill that you have already learned. Remember the past so that you can maximize the lessons. But ask people who are where you want to be or where you are so that you can get some insight. Because the next group of people I had to find out to get me through the things that I was dealing with were people that were married. Because I knew in my heart and soul, marriage was still a part of what I wanted in my journey. And I did not want to become jaded with my experience and not get married again. So I started talking to married couples. How long have you been married? How did you manage to make it last? And I find that most people that are married, still now in my second marriage, it still exists. You still gonna go through stuff. It's just a matter of finding somebody that will go through the stuff with you. Because when we got married the first time, our thought was, you will go through the storm with me. We will do this together and come out on the other side. But that is not what happened. And just because it didn't happen with that person does not mean it won't happen for you. But you got to prepare your heart for the process. Prepare yourself for those moments. So I spoke to married couples, got an idea of some of the things that they walk through. And one of the first things that they really had as a commonality for the groups of people that I was working with was effective communication. Now we all hear it, we all know it, but what does that mean? Sometimes you need someone that recognizes how you speak in your silence, because silence is a form of communication and we don't often think about it. So in my current marriage, Eric is really good at reading my silence. When I go into conflict, when I'm trying to figure things out or I'm overwhelmed or I'm not sure what to do, I go silent. My husband now knows that, but I had to discover that first. So discover some elements about you. You're in the middle of chaos right now. And in the middle of this moment, there are things that you are doing to try to make certain that you're whole. Pause. Recognize what you're feeling. Recognize what you're experiencing. Because if you recognize that it exists in these situations, when you get to the other side and you have someone join you on the journey, you can help them understand. Because I let my current husband know, if I'm quiet for too long, check on me. Now, I didn't know what to tell him to do about that situation. You work it out as you need to along the way. But the thing that I did know, because I was single for 7 years before I got remarried, I had enough moments in time to help me recognize that I go silent. And then I did learn a few strategies that I did support my current husband with. But then together, we learned some other strategies that helped me along the way, because I introduced to him the 3 days of planning things out. And I will share with him, I need these few moments. This helped me get an idea of what to say to him, give me an idea of what to plan along the way. But here's another thing. You don't have to do everything at one time. Test the waters. Pick 1 or 2 things. If you have a way of creating a list of things to do, pick 3. Do 1 and then celebrate. Because we have a tendency to do too much because we feel like we have to. Figure out in your world, what happens if you just don't do some things? Test it out on something small. Now, and I say that as a testing point, and I know if you have children, here's a different testing point. What would happen if I just did not get up and fix a hot breakfast for my kids? This is my testing point. My youngest one was 3 years old, around 3.5, when I got divorced. If I had, and the oldest one was 10. So let's say 4 and 10, because they were in their half stages before all of that happened. If you got a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old in your home, they want hot breakfasts. They were used to having a hot breakfast because even if I did not get up to fix breakfast for them, there was on the weekends only. The ex got up and fixed breakfast for them. But he was a little sous chef on the weekends and he fixed them whatever they decided they wanted. So if one child wanted pancakes and the other one wanted omelets, that's what he would fix. I, on the other hand, was not in a bit, I couldn't do that. We're going to have pancakes and scrambled eggs, and that's it. We're not going to do no over easy for one or do waffles for another one. I couldn't be a little sous chef. I didn't have the skill set at the time to do all of those things. It was too much for me because I still had to prepare them for the next day or to get through that day. Give yourself the space and grace to change some things and just test it out. So I decided to test out during the week cereal time. For the little one, I put his cereal in a bowl and put saran wrap on that bowl and put the bowl in the refrigerator on the bottom shelf. I put his milk in a sippy cup. So he had the milk because the oldest one was struggling a little bit with pouring out the milk from the gallon jug sometimes. Sometimes he was good, sometimes he wasn't. I didn't want to waste my milk. And it's a whole lot cheaper buying a gallon of milk than it is buying a smaller container. And the jugs are the ones that have the handles on them. So he needed the handle. To help my oldest child support the youngest child, all you need to do is open up the refrigerator door. His cereal was in a saran wrap in a bowl with the saran wrap on top, and his milk was in a sippy cup. Put it on a table for him and let him eat. The oldest one, he can pour his cereal, but I still put his inside of a water bottle. So when you finish and let them drink their water bottles, save their water bottles. I put their names on their water bottles so they know it was their water bottle that they drank out of. So we don't get, because I have sons, is that he touching my bottle thing. So you don't end up there. So he knew that bottle was his bottle. It just had water in it. So I would pour milk in it. So it was easier for him to pour his milk from his bottle. That way I didn't waste my milk. They both had something they could eat. And that gave me 30 minutes to add to my time because I didn't have to get up and fix any food. I test the waters. My next testing was to see what else could they really do on their own. He looked at me like I was crazy, but I knew what I had to do. It was time for him to go. So I packed up his things. Red alert. Is he the one? The pocket guide, the find and love of your life, tells my story. The free chapter is available for you in the link below. That testing occurred on a Saturday when we were home. Saturday or Sunday were the days sort of pretty much when you're home. You don't have to worry about going to work, or sometimes you don't have to rush so much. So I would have them do little things. What could they clean up? What could they actually prepare? And those were the days that I taught them how to cook some things on their own. What a situation where the oldest one could microwave. So I took the microwave off of the high shelf and just put the microwave on the counter, bought a microwave cart. Now you can take the stuff out the freezer and you know how to push the microwave button. So their hot food for some days was the breakfast meals that you just get that's already prepared. You just open it up and you tell them just take the film off and throw it in a microwave, 3 minutes, and they're done. That still bought me 30 minutes on the weekends. Once I finished the testing. So test initially to see where you can find some space, because that space will give you the opportunity to plan appropriately. And so for today, if anything that I've shared resonates with you, then it's time to reset. So like, comment, and share this information with others. And here's one thing I want to close out with, a next level note, because sometimes we don't often pay attention to the fact that we have a being greater than ourselves. And I often share that you let Jesus join you on the journey. He'll give you some insight. Because when I took the time to remember, God promised me that he would take care of me, that I would be okay. I decided to finally stand on that promise. Because being raised in church, and I want you to know, don't like religion. I personally don't think God likes religion. But what I discovered after my divorce is that God loves relationship and that he intended for us to always be in relationship. And if I am in relationship with the being that created the universe. And he promised me that he would be there for me. I decided to take him up on the promise. It's like your kids saying they're hungry and you got a refrigerator full of food. There are some things in that refrigerator, after I did my testing, that they were able to get for themselves. So if they came to me, Mom, we're hungry, I'm like, go to the fridge and get something to eat. Me putting food in the refrigerator is a promise that I will provide for you. Them going to the refrigerator, opening the door, taking out something to eat is them accessing the promise. Because here's the other thing that I learned in the aftermath of my divorce. We still have to participate in our own rescue. And it doesn't mean that you won't get some of the resources, but it does mean you got to work through some of the processes to get there. But because God promised he would be there, I decided to operate on opening up the refrigerator, taking out some promises, and learning how to eat. And if you want someone to join you on the journey, feel free to go to my website, TanyaEhood.com. There you can click under the Work With Me tab and see the various ways that we can work with one another. In the meantime, this is Tanya Ehud walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.